Hi guys. Hi, this is Megha Mawandia here, and I'm calling from Mumbai, India. Sorry for the slight delay. I was just trying to get my bearings on this technology out there. So, I'd love to know where you guys are coming in from, everyone tuning in. Please message in and say hi. I would love to know who my audience is. We're talking today about lies. We're talking today about why children lie, what what to do when they lie, and how to hold your cool and not get challenged with your values when they do lie. So, just I know people are rolling in, and just a quick reminder, if you could just type in where you're coming from and just say a hi or a thumbs up so I know you're listening in. And I'll just deep dive into our topic. So, just yesterday, my 9-year old was came to me with her eyes completely glazed, and I know the signs of that glazed eye. She had been watching Netflix while I was in a meeting. She'd snuck in the computer or the phone, or I don't know which device, and she'd been on it. And when I asked her, I was like, "Hey, have you been watching this?" And she just said, "No, I have not," and promptly burst into tears. And that's typically what happens. It's a white lie. You can see it. You know, they're not meaning anything by it, but they're just not able to face that reality. And it's very frustrating as a parent. I mean, I was working, and I really can't have so many eyes on me. And I was angry that why did I leave these devices around? Because I know the temptation is there. Summer holidays are going on. But at the same time, I was really hurt because here there was a lie, and lies feel so much more bigger than anything else. So, what I really want to do is look at that word lie and look at what all can it mean, and does it really have to be this big attack on our values? Hi, Manjula. Thanks for tuning in. I'd love to know where you're from. Um, while I'm talking, and if any of you have any stories to share or any questions you have about incidents when your child has lied, I'd love to have them on the comments, because we could pick those up as examples or in when we talk about how to respond, or even when we're trying to understand how to deal with that lie, or what does that lie really mean. So yeah, hello from Hyderabad. Hello to Hyderabad from Mumbai. Um, I remember another story of my daughter's white lie was when I caught her with her head hidden inside the fridge with chocolate smeared all over her face, and her telling me, "I didn't have any chocolates. No, no, I don't know what got there. I don't know what you're talking about." And they look so cute and innocent and cherubic when they're doing that lie. But there's this very fine line when it moves from cute and innocent to now when my 11-year-old lies, it just boils the bejesus out of me. So while it's important for us as parents to help build our children's value system and teach them really the importance of truth and facing up to truth and realities like that, it's also very important for us as parents to help our child deal with life with dignity. So we need to build that confidence and dignity. And it's very important we understand that sometimes that can come at the compromise of calling them on that lie. Now, I'm not saying that we don't talk to them about lies at all. We do. But we do need to pay attention to what is the child holding on to when they are lying. So, all lies are really not about a value system. A lot of lies are about them feeling scared, or them looking for attention, or them creating an alternate reality which just feels safer than what they are dealing with right now. And it could be a temporary phase. if left unchecked, of course, it can become an alternate way of being where we start believing in these lies and we start living that fantasy of lies. But often, and if we get into this early enough, it's just at that moment when they are lying, it's important to protect that dignity. So when my daughter said this, that I didn't watch it, and instead of saying, I know you did, etc., I just looked at her, smiled, and said, you know what, maybe you want to think about this. Do you want to just give it another thought? Because, sometimes you forget. And I know that the computer is on, and I know this particular show of Netflix has been watched. But why don't you take a few minutes to think about it and come back? And my daughter was like, okay, let me come back to you. And after a few minutes, she comes back and she's like, something is coming in my memory, but I just need a few more minutes. And I said, yeah, take your time, but do think about it, because it's just, it's nice to think about it and remember things. And promptly she came back after another 5 minutes or so and said, I think this is what happened. And while she was telling me, I think this is what happened, she was giving me all the telltale signs of, mm, and looking guilty all over her face. But what was important over here is I gave her an out while holding on to her dignity. Because the lie over here was fear, right? She knew it's something she's not allowed, and she wasn't ready to deal with the consequences of having watched something at a time when she wasn't supposed to. And giving her this opportunity to be forgetful or to think about it and come back gave her the strength to, to say, I'm just going to face the consequences. How bad is it going to happen? If she's going to allow me to think about it and change my story, how angry is she going to be if I'm watching television? So children get some time to reassess what they're thinking. And it's very important for them to reassess it, for them to feel safe and feel comfortable that they're going to be heard and not judged. Because so often we bring in these really big values when we're talking to our children, right? And they're not understanding them. They're just not understanding them. So yeah, it can be a lot about saving face. I'd like to share with you guys. Before I go further, just if you could just give me a thumbs up or an okay, or on the comments type in that you can hear me, and it's you can see me, you can hear me, there are no technical issues. That would be great, because I'm just going on, and I would like to know if there are any technical glitches going on. Yeah. And hi to Mary from Boulder Creek, California. Hi. So I was reading the American Academy of Pediatrics, and in an Sandra Bloom et al. In an article on reaching teens, says a most common post-traumatic presentation is dissociation. It may be reported as lying, which actually represents a confabulated reality produced to replace actual events. So often, I really like the words that she's used over here of a confabulated reality produced to represent actual events. That's essentially what lies are, right? There are body's very natural response to be able to deal with events which may seem traumatic or difficult to deal with. And they could be as mild as, oh my God, I got caught with chocolate all over my face when I'm not allowed it. Or it could be something serious, like uh, there was an incident in the playground and a child got deeply hurt, and I really didn't mean to hit him, Mama, but he got hurt. So we need to understand that when they are protecting that story with a lie, what they're really protecting is the hurt. Because it's not just the person who got hurt, who actually got hurt. The person who perpetuated it, the person who did the hitting, didn't really mean to. How often have you heard this? I didn't mean to hurt so and so. It just happened. And for many children, that is that is when lies become the shining beacon of hope, because I didn't mean for it to happen. I didn't mean for him to get hurt. I didn't even mean to hit him. It just happened. So helping them accept these parts of them without judgment. And I know I'm speaking a lot about without judgment, without judgment, but that's really at the center of it. When children are lying and we've caught them in that lie, can we pause and can we think about this without judgment? And I love using the hand in hand tool of listening partnerships for that pause, where we take that understanding of, oh my God, my innocent child is not so innocent because they just lied. And can we take that statement or that feeling into an adult relationship, into a safe place where we can explore how does that feel in us? Because so often that triggers our own pasts and our own hurts. And the time when we lied, I remember from grade 4 it was, and I had a library book due in school, and I'd forgotten to I'd lost, actually I'd lost that library book, and I'd been searching high and low, and it became overdue and overdue, and my librarian was a strict, lady, and very typical librarian, and I did not have the guts to stand up to her and say, you know what, I've lost my book and what can I do. I didn't have the strength to go up to my mom and say, Mom, I've lost this book, and can you just help me out with the fine that's due, or just help me deal with the consequences of. I didn't even know what the consequences were. And I remember standing in that queue when we had the library period, and everybody had to go stand in that queue with their books or their library cards, and the librarian would check on it, and you needed to complete your transaction. And I remember feeling sweaty and hot. And as my turn came, I fainted. I actually blacked out. And when I came to, everybody was so concerned about me. And my mom came to school to pick me up, and she was so concerned about me. Nobody really addressed that book incident. Now, I didn't lie over here. I didn't have the opportunity to lie, but I used omission, and I had so much fear built up in me that I ended up fainting. So, when my children have made these white lies, and I've taken this into my listening partnership, this is the story that has come up again and again, and I have felt that 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 blast of shame and that inner feeling of being uh, cold and everything becoming fuzzy and dizzy and fainting. And I've worked on that fear of being that 10-year-old and not having the ability to say, I don't know where the book is, and I've forgotten it, or I've lost it, and can you help me? Can you help me deal with these really big feelings or really big fears? And as I've worked on that, it's made it easier for me to work, to be there for my children when they're lying, because I'm able to relate to that fear. I'm able to relate to that feeling of, oh my God, what are these consequences really looking like, and what is it going to mean? At this point, I'd really love it if you guys could share any of your stories of your children lying and how you felt, or even any memories of when you have lied as a child and how you wish the adults around you had responded. Incidentally, my fainting incident I have no memory of what happened with the book after that. I don't know if I actually found that book and gave it to her, or it was dealt with, or it's all a blank. The only thing that stands out is that feeling standing in that line and fainting when I had to show her my card. Another story I'd like to share is, again, going back into my own childhood, is of a friend who, she was a classmate and dealing with a lot of personal challenges. She was a very good friend of mine. And one fine day, she just came into school with this. I love seeing those thumbs up and hearts. So please keep at it. But she came to school one fine day and said, you know what? My name is actually not A, it's actually F. And we were like, well, what? How can your name change all of a sudden? And she said, no, it's always been F. And I just, I wasn't allowed to talk about it because my parents said I shouldn't, but now I've decided I'm going to talk about it. And I'm not actually Indian. I belong to, and she talked about another country where she was from, and we said, you know what, you're not from a European country because you're not white, you're brown like we are, and you have brown hair. And she said, yeah, when I was a child, I was born. And she went on to create this very elaborate lie truth, and I'm going to use both the words because she made us believe it was the truth. She actually said stuff like, my birth records were lost in the earthquake of San Francisco, and there was an earthquake in San Francisco in the year that she said it happened. She said that she was given cortisons which changed the color of her skin and hair, and that's why it wasn't red and white anymore, and she was brown and black. And we were fascinated, and this became like a Nancy Drew mystery for us. We're like, oh my god, is she A or is she F? And we didn't have the ability to see through what that stood for, but we were just entrapped with this fantasy and this reality. And I remember spending so many afternoons and evenings trying to understand what it was. Later, when I was older and I got into all this work and I started to look at literature, I could really understand what that was standing up for. It was the creation of this alternate reality which felt safer and which felt more comfortable for her to deal with at that point. And that exotic reality of hers really helped her handle the stuff going on at home, which was not pleasant, in which she was really swimming alone because she had nobody supporting her or helping her deal with that. So a really good way was to deflect and be like, you know what, in school, I don't need to be that person, and I can be this other person, and this other person is so much more cooler. And if all my friends are going to focus on the story I'm spinning about this other person, maybe they're not going to dig deep enough to see the part that's really hurting for me. So we need to really watch out for what is it that the children are hiding behind that lie. Is there a reality that's feeling very painful for them? Just like many times lies look like a stomach ache, or they look like fainting in my case. But we need to really look at, if children are lying often, we need to look at what else is going on in their lives that's making them use this protection, because it's a very, if you really look at it, it's a very smart psychological tool that they're utilizing. It's a weapon almost, that, you know what, this is really hard to deal with, let's create this, and this is going to be easier to deal with. So what can we do? And it keeps coming down to that, right? With everything we understand about things that are going wrong, what do we do about it? And number one on my list of things to do is to protect that magic. So in the moment when the child is lying, let's come up with ways to protect that magic. Another hand in hand, actually, on the amazing Hand in Hand podcast, there's an episode about lying in which they talked about an imaginary friend, and oh, who did that? George did that. Yeah, they talk about George. And I love that. I love the idea of an imaginary friend. In my family, we've come up with maybe you've forgotten, and let's think about it and come back. Another one we've come up with in my family with is a story my husband made with the children called Dreamland. And every night when they go to sleep, since they were young, my husband would say, I'm going to see you in Dreamland and tell me what are we going to do in Dreamland, and let's close our eyes and let's quickly cross through that curtain and enter Dreamland. And in the morning they talk about what happened in Dreamland. So sometimes there are times when my children have said stuff and I'd be like, did that happen in Dreamland? Because, maybe it happened and I wasn't there. And again, it's giving them magic, it's giving them reality, it's giving them the ability to make the differentiation between the two, but without feeling any shame. So they've sometimes come back to me and said, yeah, actually, yeah, that was in Dreamland. And I don't think you joined us that day. Dad was there, or my sister was there, or so and so was there. So protecting the magic, come up with some alternate reality which feels safe. Another parent I was talking to about lies talked about how her daughter, she'd be at the club with her daughter, swimming or whatnot. And her friends would come up and say, your daughter said you've been to Guatemala. Have you been to Guatemala? And the mom knows they've not been there. And she didn't know how to respond. And I said, well, is it important for us to enter this battle of I've been one-upmanship that children are into? And instead of responding with a truth or a reality, can you just respond and say, you're going to have to ask her that, because I don't remember, we go to so many places and we do so many things. Best you talk to her and just deflect it. Why do we need to get into children's fights and arguments and how they're going to address each other? And something very important to note is when we're protecting the reality that is in that moment, right? In that moment of off-track feelings, when the child is in that situation where they've used the lie to protect themselves. So that's the time when I'm protecting that reality. However, when my child is out of it and their limbic system, so their sense of connection is repaired, they're in a safe environment, maybe they're home, maybe they're not feeling triggered, maybe y'all have just had so much fun playing a pillow fight, or we're playing a lot of card games now, so we're playing Go Fish and there's been a lot of laughter in the house. And at that time we need to revisit that magic or that forgetting or that reality that was created, and we need to talk about it. We need to help them um, defragment what happens. So when I told them mom that, she used some time after special time and play listening, which are all great hand-in-hand tools, and I will share certain links about them to help you with those tools. But after that connection time she had with her daughter, she said, what was this whole thing about Guatemala? Your friends came and asked me. And that's when her daughter really started talking about it and said, mom, they keep teasing me and I don't know why this came out. And it's just something that I said, and I don't know why I said it. I don't even know why I picked that country. And instead of the mom judging in and saying, you shouldn't, you don't need to, the daughter had already recognized it, right? She'd already owned up to it. And she said, it's okay. It's not a big deal. And sometimes when we've had these conversations, my daughters have said they've not owned up to it. And I've just used that as a sign that, what, they need more connection and they're still not feeling safe enough to talk about it. And that's perfectly okay. But regardless, the cycle is protect, connect, and then talk about it. Or give them the right space to talk about it and wait. And if they're not ready to talk about it, go back to protect, connect, and talk about it. So that's it from me for today. And if you have any questions you can think about, or you would like to write to me about, I'm going to put in my email ID on the comment section, and I would love to hear from you. And do join our all new Hand in Hand Parent Facebook group. The link of it also is going to go down in the comment section. We'd love to see you there because there's going to be so many more lives, and there's a thriving community there which will help with the listening partnerships and addressing our own feelings of what's going on when the triggers that affect us when we see certain behaviors in our children. So thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye-bye.